Buckle up for another episode of Ghostfacers, a supernatural rewatch podcast. My name is Richard, and sitting shotgun, as always, is my brother in podcasting, Reed.
Oh my God, what are we going to do? It's almost the season finale. I'm so scared.
Hey, it's all right. You know, I mean, we're going to get through this. We're almost at the end of this series.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that we have all of our everything together. We're going to do this together. It's going to be great.
Yeah, you would think that. You would think it's together. Guess what? I've been working on this episode the whole goddamn time.
It's weird that I'm finding out like this.
Oh.
In this tweet. Let's get into it.
Ghostfacers! We're facing ghosts, but others will not. We're Ghostfacers! Stay in the kitchen when the kitchen gets hot. Ghostfacers! We're facing nightmare, we're facing dread. Ghostfacers! We're facing faceless, we're facing dead.
Welcome to Ghostfacers. Today we're discussing Season 2, Episode 21, All Hell Breaks Loose, Part 1. Holy shit.
Wow.
God, is that really how much of a delay?
No, that was just me.
Jeez, you feel like you're such an asshole.
No, we're recording distance, and I just thought I would give you a little mini heart attack there.
Jeez, it worked. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. Jesus, yes. Because of where we're located in the world, we're fortunate enough that we haven't really had to remote record, besides with guests and such. This is like
not with each other. At least the snappy banter we've got was in real time.
Oh yeah, that's why we made it to the top, baby. That's why we're Canada's number one podcast.
Wow, we're so much further.
Whatever, they don't know. So many of our listeners are not from Canada. They can believe it.
That's true.
It's believable.
We're sort of famous up here.
Speaking of being famous up here, we have a review. Yeah, from I was trying to figure out how to say this. It's either DC Aru or it's DeCaru or DeCaru.
I'm thinking, because our other podcast is DC related, someone maybe found us that way and then hopped over to Ghostfacers. So I'm going to say it's DC Aru.
That was my thought process, especially because maybe it's like Aru.
Oh yeah, it's Tim Allen.
Yeah. Aru?
Yeah. Oh, Superman.
I'm sorry, that was Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo. He has that like daytime Tool TV show.
Yeah, but also about comic books. I love you, Rooster Gold.
Ruh-roh, bid for tools.
Yeah, so from DC Aru on Apple Podcast from the United States of America with the subject, Two Coolest Idiots.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I love it. 5 stars.
I'll wear that with a badge of honor. Calling me an idiot? Damn right.
Goddamn right. This podcast is 5-star reviewed by one of the most hardcore Supernatural fan. Whoa. Really? Because your name sounds like it's a DC fan. So I don't know how hardcore it
stands for Dean.
Destiel.
Oh, Destiel. Come get me, Aru.
Or Dean Cass. Aru.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, they are. I take it back. You are the most hardcore Supernatural fan.
Wow.
Hilariously executed, and love the title segment. These two make me laugh out loud throughout the entire hour of listening. Can't wait to get the Destiel jokes from you two starting season 4. Keep it up, guys. Oh, for those who don't know, if you're like for some reason like coming along for the very first time with us,
yeah,
you have no idea what's coming.
If you thought we were like man thirsty now, you have no idea what's coming.
I'm on some other podcasts Discords, and I was just like searching through them yesterday, and I was like, I wonder if any of them have ever talked about our podcast. And
Right.
the This Is Rad one, for those who don't know, This Is Rad, our past guest Kyle Clark, past and future guest Kyle Clark, it's his podcast, and I'm on their Discord, and they literally the words came up in one of them where it was like, oh, if you want the thirstiest supernatural podcast ever, and I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems to be our brand of things. I
Mm-hmm.
think we've got about the thirstiest comic book podcast and about the thirstiest supernatural podcast. I think that's the only like mode we have.
It's the through line from both of them is that we're very thirsty about men.
Yeah.
Well, I also did like that somebody also said, I just started listening to Ghostfacers. I finally get why everybody loves Richard Eden.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure
What
what
are
I'm bringing to the table, but I like it.
What do they say about me? They saying
So
nice
that was
things
a
about
review.
me?
Thank you so much, DC Aru.
Me? Any mention a little me over there on the.
We love getting those reviews. Make sure that we keep getting those really. Hey, you're there. You're there too. And the fact that they like mention the podcast.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would get to say the next thing I'm about to say.
Okay.
Let's get to the news.
Oh damn it! On our other podcast, I have a drop for this. I don't know what to do here.
We've got supernatural news.
That's right.
When we started this podcast, I never thought we would get the chance to say this. The show was ending as we were starting. I never thought we would have news. We have some big news to talk about this week.
We do somehow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a lot to talk about here, but it dropped this week or last week from when we're listening to this. There's a supernatural prequel called The Winchesters in works at the CW from Jensen and Daniil Ackles.
Yes. And the premise is that it would follow young John and Mary, correct?
Yes. So the idea is basically the way that Jensen specifically pitched it was like Dean would always want to know more about his parents' relationship because it's not one that they got to see. As we all know, the mother died when Dean was like 3. So
Wait,
5.
what?
It was 5. I think he was 5.
No, Dean's mom died?
Man,
Spoiler.
You should go back and listen to the first episode of the podcast.
Oh, I don't listen to this.
And like every other podcast, because they started every episode of the first season showing the mom dying.
Interesting.
So, I think Dean was like 5 in the episode, showing my lack of knowledge here. I can't remember the
4.
exact. Was it? God damn it. Of course, you know the
idiot.
lore. Oh, no, it's not written down. But yeah, so Dean doesn't really have a relationship with his mom, let alone understanding his relationship with his parents. And it's definitely his father never spoke probably at length about anything, let alone the relationship with his dead wife. So
Yeah.
So that was sort of how Dean pitched it. But
I love, like, this is true of the full Supernatural fandom. It's like, that's how Dean pitched
I
the
know
show.
I can't. But also that's fitting enough for this.
Totally.
For those who don't like, I don't want to make any spoilers potentially, but there is a history of potential still supernatural fighting that could be had, because as we know,
Yes.
John didn't get into fighting supernatural beings until after Mary had died. So, but there's a potential that there is still going to be some supernatural fighting that happens, but it is a weird sort of like thing to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I almost would have thought the pitch would have been like John and the boys,
Like a Hardy Boys like fighting.
Like if you're doing the prequel thing, like doing that, I almost would have thought it would have been that. The other thing I read about this was that possibly Jensen returning as Dean as the narrator. Like, I don't know if we're doing like a young Sheldon situation for this, but
yes. So that brings up a whole other slew of stuff that we need to get into.
yes,
Because So this was basically pitched. I'll get the exact tweet and day on it because it's important to sort of mention when this actually all sort of like came out. So it would have been June 24th is when Jensen tweeted out that like he was really excited to show this, but like we're working on this project finally.
And he tweeted like a screenshot of the Deadline article or something like that.
It was just a link to the Deadline article. Yeah. So he tweeted a link to that. It went out and everybody started freaking out about it, understandably. The next day, or no, I think it was the same day. Jared made a tweet, which because at this point we were like, "Hey, this is awesome!" Obviously, like,
of course,
maybe Jared will be involved in some way. So Jared that same day tweeted, "Dude, happy for you. Wish I had heard about this some way other than Twitter. I'm excited to watch, but bummed that Sam Winchester had no involvement whatsoever." Now,
and then I just so that. Right away, then people were like, "Oh, he's joking. What a funny, weird, sarcastic joke of Jared's." And someone wrote that, and then Jared like quote tweeted that and wrote something like, "No, not a joke. I'm gutted."
Yeah, he wrote specifically, "No, break. It's not break. This is the first I've heard about it. Break. I'm gutted."
It became such like a. Then everyone was like, "Wait. What? I thought they were brothers."
This shook the Supernatural fandom to its core.
This was an emotional roller coaster of a day or two.
People were choosing sides. Like people started threatening Daniil.
I know. I mean, you can see how like the quote unquote like being a fan of something turns ugly.
Is that a thing that like in genre and nerd culture that fans get too extreme about something?
I know. And generally,
at least with our DC podcast, we've never had to deal with that.
Yeah, comic books famously great at letting everyone in.
Open gates. Yeah, there's no gatekeepers at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, I've really only had pretty positive interactions in the Supernatural fan community, but like, man, did the ugly side rear its head during all this.
Yeah, so Jared then tweeted the next day on June 25th, "Hey world, thank you for the love. Please don't send any hate or threats. I care deeply about everyone involved and would be in true misery if any of them were harmed or threatened." So, I mean,
it's just like, and over what?
A fucking TV show. Look, we've based a bunch of our life talking about this show, and that's extreme.
Well, I will happily admit that the thing we dedicate a lot of our, like a big portion of our life to, does not matter. Like,
oh yeah, 100%.
It fully doesn't matter. This is just like screwing around. But yeah, that was crazy drama and stuff. There was a thing that I enjoyed too, that was like a sort of third party, like comedian kind of commenting on what was going on, who was basically like, took the initial Jared post of like the no, like I wish I had heard. It was like, do you not like have a phone? Like if you're friends, just text him. Why are you airing this publicly? Like
this is the big thing that I want to
do that and inflame these people that clearly can't like handle anything happening without turning violent.
This is
just
the thing.
Text him if you're friends. Like,
yes, and this is the entire thing that I wanted to talk about because like Jared did the wrong thing here. Yes, does Jensen owe a conversation with him before this comes out? 100%. I actually think that he's right to be upset about it. The way that I conflated it was, imagine if me and my wife suddenly went out and made a Supernatural TV show and didn't involve you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Like, not even to say that he had to be involved.
No.
But just like know it was happening.
Yes.
Be like, bro, we did this for 15 years together. It literally only just ended.
Yes.
I'm thinking of doing this. And he goes, great. So happy for you. I'm having a ton of success with Walker. People love this show.
Oh, is he lying in there? Is that what was happening? It's weird that he would bring a lie into that conversation. It's a strange move for him.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, he was right to be upset about it. But like, you know that there's that segment of the fandom that will activate and go ugly real quick. Why activate them?
Well,
Send a
that's the
text,
thing.
Call Jensen and be like, bro, this really hurts my feelings. But
Yeah.
like,
Because at the end of the day, what you're doing is showing that it's like, do you really care that much about the thing that you're claiming to be upset about, or do you just wish you were the center of attention? I mean, which at the end of the day, God, what a Sam move. But
yeah, I mean, listen, people have lapses in judgment. That's clearly what this was. But like, I love that someone chimed in with that comment, because I think everyone was so caught up in the like, oh my God, like how could Jensen do this to him or whatever? And then someone's like, why is Jared doing this? So
again, the June 25th, Jared then tweeted, Jensen and I had a great talk, as we do often, and things are good. The show is early in the process with miles to go. We've traveled a lot of roads together, and sometimes those damn roads have bumps. Bumps don't stop us. Once brothers, always brothers. Hashtag SBN family. Which you're like, okay, these guys are really...
P.S. If you do this again, I'm going to the newspaper.
Or kill myself. And I'm like, okay, like, good. And everybody seemed to be like good with that, I think. Here's the thing that I think is slightly interesting, though, and feels a bit one-sided in this relationship, is Jensen also tweeted right after that and said, love you too, Jared Pad. Miss these talks. So, again, now sort of different than what Jared just said.
Jared is like, we talk often.
We're best friends. We talk often all the time. He's like, miss these talks. Forgot how much FaceTime we used to get and miss that too. So, again, we haven't really talked since the show ended.
Are you getting the impression that Jared is the Sam in real life?
Yes. Also, I feel like Jensen is basically like treating Sam like every girl that Dean hooked up with. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I didn't call.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I missed that time too that we were together. But so then he goes on to say, I know you're busy, ... So now putting the blame on Jared.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of layers to this thing, and it's kind of fascinating to watch it play out publicly.
Yeah. I know you're busy, ... As am I, but you're still my
Things
brother.
are great. I'm busy too.
Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff going on. I miss you, pal. Which, like, pal is such, like, not a way you describe a friend.
And I totally agree with you, but I also think, like, now this is like when people are like, do you see this little shadow in like 3 pixels of a frame of a Marvel movie? That's Kang the Conqueror. I think this is also now like everyone being like trying to decipher like the linguistics of these tweets. Like, did he get demoted to pal? Holy shit. It's like
so, but I've got a bit more. I got a bit more context to prove.
There's more beyond that?
Yes.
Oh,
so
geez,
on June 24th, the day before everything was fixed and the day that everything was announced, Eric Kripke made a tweet. Now, this tweet has now been deleted. I have 2 tweets from him, which sort of...
I saw these. I did see
Yes. So Eric's first tweet was, when Jensen Ackles first told me this story, I loved it. He and Daniil and R. Thompson are the perfect people to make it. The other perfect person is too busy Texas Rangering, in brackets. Thanks for carrying the torch. Go kick it in the ass. Proud of you. So here's another thing is, I'm not sure who the R. Thompson person is.
Probably just like another producer or, you know, would-be writer or you know what I mean? Like just someone else to help them get it off the ground, I guess.
But this is also this is now sort of adding to this piece where it's like, Jared's too busy to deal with it.
I know. It both feels like an excuse, like, fuck, we forgot to talk to Jared. what's an excuse? He's busy. And it also feels like I mean, Jared's like, yeah, we talk all the time, and Jensen's like, we don't talk. So it's like maybe Jared's the one. I don't know. I'm trying not to overanalyze it. It does feel like there's like levels to this, though.
I want to know who this. Now I need to figure out who this R. Thompson person is, because there is another tweet from Jared that I don't know if it's been deleted, but there was a tweet where he calls out that R. Thompson person again, directly writes them and says, so my guess is that I think this might be French, so you might have to help me out here.
Does he say et tu
brute?
Yeah, et tu brute. That's what Caesar said when he got stabbed a bunch of times on the Ides of March.
So
he's saying you too, Brutus, because Brutus is the one that betrayed him. He said et tu brute to this guy.
So he says et tu brute. Wow, what a truly awful thing you've done. # bravo, you coward.
Holy shit. Wow. That is such like a nuclear tweet.
But also, what a fucking Sam tweet to do et tu brute.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, listen. We know this show's on the CW. We love our drama.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, I love that.
Yeah, the CW.
Oh, man,
very dramatic.
It's just, yeah, God, so many levels. I'm not sure that this pitch is the one I like. I mean, listen, I'm a Supernatural fan. I'll watch whatever they put out, but
of all of the
sure
spinoffs
this is
that
the
have been
pitch
pitched,
I would have wanted for a prequel pitch. Like I said,
Wayward Sisters.
Also,
that's the one the fans wanted.
Yeah, and then also Wayward Sisters. We should have gotten that. Yeah, exactly. Or just something else, do a Fear the Walking Dead. Like, let's just go somewhere else, different hunters. Something like that. And then to have all of this drama, and that it's like, oh my God, are they not close? Like, are they?
Well, this is the thing, right? It's like when you're oh man, I'm friends with the people I work with, and then you don't work there anymore, and suddenly you'd never talk to those people again. It's like, were we friends, or were we just always in the same place, and they were the closest to the type of person I would want to talk to?
Yeah. Very, very fascinating stuff happening there.
Yeah, by the way, we can't hang out anymore.
What? It's literally been 2 days since I saw you.
Yeah, I know, but you're just a colleague now.
Oh, God.
You're just an employee.
Oh,
no. I just want to end this news piece off with talking about my favorite of all of this, which is Misha Collins' tweet.
Oh God, I could only imagine, especially if they're all playing true to type. He's probably just coming in and being like, you two are brothers. You'll get over this.
Yeah, right? I wish that's what it was. So all of this was happening. Misha hasn't said anything since the 24th, but when all of this came out, Misha just sent a tweet responding to that deadline link that Jensen had put out and just says, seems like this show would benefit from a time-traveling angel in a trench coat character. Just say.
Love that. Listen, you don't make it in this industry unless you hustle.
But this is like when we're gonna get to a very metatextual version of this show in the next season, I believe. But for those who don't know, Misha ends up becoming a really big major part of this show. But it very much plays into what everyone's perception of this character and this actor is, which is like, hey guys, I'm a third brother too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're basically at the end of the second season, but kind of in the fourth season, we get to something that will make that moment very funny.
But what's hilarious is just the two brothers are just like, you are supposed to bring me along, and then the Misha comes in and is just like, hey, I can be helpful too.
But I love that if that's on the 24th, that's before most of the drama broke out.
Oh yeah,
so he was just like, Winchester show. Remember this guy? And then all that stuff. I mean, you can just picture him being like putting down my phone.
Never mind. Fucking loved it. So funny.
Man.
So here's the thing. Do I will I watch the show? Yeah. Am I super excited about the show? Not necessarily. Do I think it's weird that they're gonna have Dean narrate and potentially not with Sam?
I mean, and again, not to spoilerize anything, but wouldn't it make more sense for Sam to narrate?
Oh, the guy who like does all of the writing and like research and stuff.
You know,
You could have it where like the guys are like in a cabin and they're like the whole season's them like around a fire talking about their mom, and like Sam's like done all the lore to like figure out about the relationship.
I think you do it like The Hobbit, where the whole show takes place like in a moment of it, or like the finale of Enterprise that takes place during the Pegasus thing of TNG,
or like How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, that could be it. It's old Sam talking about how your grandparents met. That stupid old man face he does.
Oh, Lordy.
So,
what are we doing today? What's happening?
Today, we are talking about the first of the two-part finale of Season 2, aired May 10th, 2007. Written by the one and only Sarah Gamble, directed by, of course, Robert Singer, Bobby. Viewed by an estimated 2.90 million viewers. Look, it's a finale. It's a finale. It's not a procedural thing. It's not something you can just bum into. Those are always going to have lower numbers, I think.
You're probably right. Yes.
It makes sense to me. But yeah, before we start diving a bit more into this episode, let's talk about the title. All Hell Breaks Loose. And we've got some international versions of this.
All Hell Breaks Loose, Part 1.
That's right.
Yeah.
Before we even talk about them, not necessarily like directly canon that this was taken from this, but it is interesting that also a CW show from 1998, the TV show Charmed, has an episode titled Charmed, All Hell Breaks Loose from 2001, in which one of the siblings dies.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's just happenstance. It probably is, but it isn't interesting that that's in there.
Yeah, maybe it's just like the coincidence of when you're raising the stakes as high as hell.
Yes.
You're also yeah.
There's like there's a music connection there, and like it's a turn of phrase. Like I get where, but it is interesting. It's also CW show, also supernatural based. And a sibling dies.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Like the season finale of The Flash is called All Hell Breaks Loose. You're like,
oh no. Let's start getting into our international titles.
Let's do it.
And you'll be very interested to hear the very first one is Hungry.
Oh, now here's the thing. We recorded part 2 like 2 months ago.
Yes.
Because we have a very special guest next week for that one, and that's when we recorded it.
Yes.
And we played this game. I remember nothing. So if you're listening to this week and next week, I'm gonna sound so dumb.
Well, here's the thing, and the thing that I did for the next
I'm not making like similar guesses at all or anything.
Well, I intentionally, if you go back and listen, I actually didn't use any of the ones from this. So because it would just be the second, I actually used ones that weren't included this week. So, yeah.
See, I didn't even remember that, which just goes to show in one ear at the other.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just gonna go tweet about that.
Yeah, listen, I'm happy for you, but I wish I didn't hear about it.
Hungry. What do you think?
Sorry, I just got to do one more little thing here. When we finally get through this whole podcast, I think we take like a 6-month break, and then you announce that you're going to start the Winchester's podcast, and that's how I respond.
God, I mean, what a long way to get to that a good joke, like
a 7-year long con joke.
One that no one would appreciate or understand, but the ones who did. Oh yeah. And that's what we're all doing it for
life. Yeah.
I mean, typically all of my humor is either for me or for one other person, and that's probably you. So That's
Oh
fine.
God. Okay. Hungarian
Hungary.
title for this.
Yeah.
So all hell breaks loose. I'm gonna call it like Tuesday Market.
I started with Hungary, which I typically go from the ones that are the most similar to the least.
I'm pretty sure I said exactly what the title was.
It's actually Wednesday Market. So you're wrong.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Damn it. Idiot.
The Hungarian title is If Hell Breaks Loose, Part 1.
Well, good. You want to keep a little mystery. You don't want people to know what happens in the episode.
Yeah, don't let them know that hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
Not good.
Does it? If?
Maybe. If you won the podcast awards. So, the Polish title.
Oh.
You're going to like this one.
Polish title is like Hell on Earth or like something like that.
So, the previous one was If Hell Breaks Loose.
Okay.
This one is Hell Has Been Loose.
Not Hell Has Been Loosed.
No, Hell Has Been Loose.
Oh.
And it stops today.
Yeah, I mean, Hell has not been picky about its sexual partners. It's been pretty loose.
And you know what? We're sex positive here. Hell can do
Listen,
whatever it
good
wants.
on Hell. Good on Hell.
Hell's dimension, Hell's choice.
You do you, Hell. Hell has been loose.
Yeah.
Like in the past at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Is Hell breaking loose? Well, it has been.
Yeah.
Ugh.
All right, next one. Brazil.
Brazil. Capoeira.
Capoeira. So, staying with this is I would say this is an evolution from the previous title.
Okay. Oh. Like Hell has been released.
No, you're going too literal. This is Demons on the Loose.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I like that. I mean, that doesn't communicate the stakes as well as saying hell is like demons are technically always on the loose.
Yes. That's kind of the whole thing from the whole show. Also,
that's like what the show is. Yeah.
There's also like barely any demons in this.
Yeah. Yeah. Demons are on the loose is a weird lowering of the stakes.
Yes. French.
Oh, the chosen children or something like that.
No, but this is basically the name of an actual movie that's like a horror movie, but like a campy horror movie.
Ernest Scared Stupid.
How did you get it? That's what it is. Ernest Scared Stupid. We just love this.
Ernest has been loose.
Yeah. No, it is The Army of the Darkness.
Of the Darkness.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, German.
Oh.
So
like,
if you think that
like the demon's plan or something like that.
If you think that Brazil was like a step down, this is another big leap down in like the real breadth of this episode.
Yeah. Bad guys might be out there.
I mean, it's not far from that. It might potentially actually be a step lower than that.
All right, hit me. What is it?
The storm breaks out.
Oh, Jesus. Come on, Germany.
There is it. No, wait, that's my French accent.
There's something very German about like invoking like it's like a Wagnerian kind of thing about like the storms and the like maybe that's where they're going.
There is a chill in the wind. The final one. Finish.
We're gonna finish with the finish.
That's right. We're gonna go to completion with the finish.
Yeah, who have or may have been loose during this period of time.
This is probably the I get where they're coming from, but it feels the most disconnected.
Is this very like silly low stakes or super metal?
Neither. I would say
Oh, fuck.
I would say that it is low stakes, but also like doesn't really speak to stakes at all.
Right.
It's one word.
Okay. It's sacrifice or something stupid like that.
Limbo.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Come on, Finland. Your limbo.
Jump in there, I'm at your body in time. Oh yeah, I believe.
Azazel's plan was to take these chosen children and see how low they could go.
The lowest takes over the world.
Yeah, it's moral limbo. How low can your morals sink?
I get what they're saying because you're going into this sort of like this town that feels a bit like in between where you were and what's coming next. Like I get
Totally.
where they're coming from, but it's a little too esoteric for me, I think.
It's a pretty bland title.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the featured music. We've got some bangers. We've got Foreplay / Long Time by Boston.
Love that.
Stand by Your Man by Tammy Wynette. We have Opening by Darker My Love.
Okay.
And Wrapped Around Your Finger by APM.
All right.
Great soundtrack for this episode. But let's talk about the description of today's episode. As TV Guide puts it, part 1 of 2, in the second season finale, Sam is abducted by the yellow-eyed demon and taken to a ghost town with others who have special abilities. The demon intends to initiate war against the human race, and he tries to get Sam to join the fight by showing him what happened to one of his parents. I don't know if that part is necessary to write in the TV Guide part of it.
I don't know that we need to do the episode now.
Yeah.
The TV Guide just about covered it.
Oh, it keeps going. It says Dean gets pie, but then doesn't get pie. He goes in to find... Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm excited to talk about today's episode, but before we talk about our thoughts, let's open up Dad's journal and learn about some of the real world lore on today's monster.
Oh, yeah, baby. Let's see what the lore says about Azazel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's real. And he's
Yeah.
standing right behind you.
Holy shit. Also funny that I've been staring at myself too, like in the Zoom call.
So you
that
would
I
know.
wouldn't notice.
But you still look behind you.
Like, oh no. All right. We're talking about Azazel, which, spoiler alert, that's the name of the yellow-eyed demon. So Azazel as a word, as a term, originates in the Hebrew Bible. I think it's the book of Leviticus. There's this practice described in which they would pick like 2 goats, and both would be sort of presented to God, to Yahweh, but one just drawn by lots, drawn like randomly. They would kind of imbue it with their sins and then send it off into the wilderness / off a cliff. And that goat was sent like to Azazel. It was for Azazel.
That also is not well known, but that goat, greatest of all time. Best goat ever.
It was the goat.
Yeah, greatest of all time.
So literally, this is the origin of the word scapegoat.
Really?
They would put all of their sins on this goat and be like, that has all our sins. And then send it off and sacrifice it.
Which is interesting because us Jews, canonically, always the scapegoat.
I don't know that I want to touch that.
Why? Is there some historical precedence for that you don't want to get into?
Anyway, the word Azazel. So the word Azazel itself has some differing potential origins. So depending on the translation, sometimes Azazel is seen as like an actual personification, like this goat is for Yahweh, this one is for Azazel.
Yeah.
But in other translations, Azazel may literally mean scapegoat. It's just describing that is the scapegoat or that it might mean like sent away, like that it's maybe describing the practice as opposed to like a literal being they're sacrificing the goat to. In the Greek translation, it wasn't interpreted as a name at all. That one it was like the term like the sent away or something like that. In medieval times, interpretations of Azazel made him out to be more concretely into like a demon. So that, and the idea that the scapegoat sacrifice isn't like an offering to him, but more of like a symbolic gesture about casting out sin. By like sending that goat away, you're casting it out the way Azazel is cast out, sort of thing. So you're saying it's for Azazel, but it's not like, Azazel, we got you something.
Oh.
It's more like a, hey, Azazel, this is you, son of a bitch, kind of thing. In the Latin Bible, there is no mention of Azazel. So this is it flipping back to being like the word being interpreted as like emissary goat. By the way, Benjamin Sisko, the goat emissary. In Islam, we get a real concrete story with Azazel, in which Azazel is one of 3 angels sent to Earth. So in this story, they all have like as names. I can't remember them, but it's like as something, and Azazel are sent to Earth. And the idea is that they're sent to Earth to have earthly desires, and that to prove that angels aren't more inherently good than humans. Saying like, if we lived like humans do, we would have the same failings or whatever. 2 of those angels do exhibit those failings and stay on Earth and sort of like introduce like illicit magic to the world.
Oh wow.
Azazel is the one that repents and returns to heaven. So completely different interpretation of Azazel in that regard.
I would say he's being a bit sheepish.
God damn it. That was bad.
Yes. You're really milking that.
Okay. There is okay. So then we move to some like the Dead Sea Scrolls and some of like the Enochian kind of interpretations of Azazel. And in this one, this is where we get a way more concrete Azazel was a demon sort of thing. In the Book of Enoch, they connect Azazel to the story of like the fall of the angels and stuff like that. That he's from before the time of the flood, that he's like a rebellious angel and stuff like that. There's supposed to be references to him being the one to teach people how to make weapons and cosmetics. That's
okay.
That's the reason he was cast out of heaven. Because I guess the idea that cosmetics breed pride, like that you're embracing sin in some way that way. And weapons obviously being bad. Azazel is meant to, I think in some, Azazel might be one of the Grigori, like the sort of warrior angels. And then all the way through to the apocalypse of Abraham here, Azazel is portrayed as an unclean bird who came down upon the sacrifice which Abraham prepared. And the unclean bird spoke to me and said, "What are you doing, Abraham, on the holy heights?" Blah, 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 blah. And it came to pass when I saw the bird speaking, I said to the angel, "What is this, my Lord?" And he said, This is disgrace. This is Azazel. So angels like recognize Azazel as an actual being, as a demon, but calling him a disgrace. Azazel is painted to be a fallen angel, akin to like a Lucifer type in these sort of things. So it's just kind of fascinating that like sometimes it's just a concept of like sending a goat into the wilderness.
Sometimes it's a dirty bird.
There was one, and then sometimes he's a fallen angel, sometimes he's a demon. In one case, they thought the words that made up the phrase Azazel might mean rugged cliff, like literally describing where you would sacrifice the goat.
Oh my God.
So kind of a broad, sort of amorphous name and character, but generally associated with something to do with sins, casting out sins, or being associated with the sinful and things like that. So appropriate that this character would be called Azazel.
It's interesting though, right? Because we don't really get a lot of background on Azazel in this show. Like they actually don't go that deep into what's his motivation and things like that. Like it's easy to just go, oh, he's a demon. He wants to be the best demon to ever demoned.
Yeah.
But I mean, it'd be interesting though to find out, and I kind of wish they put it in now, that he was like maybe cast out of hell, and then now he was trying to like gain favor with like Lucifer, or that he wants to like show his worth or something like that by doing all this stuff. Like that would be an interesting layer.
I mean, I don't want to spoil any of the stuff we learn later on about him, but yeah, you're right. We don't really, beyond just executing a plan kind of thing, we don't really get much of Azazel's like inner life.
Yeah.
Like,
which I mean, I just could be interesting. I get to like make him more scary. It's easy to just leave it shrouded, but I think it would be a potential way to sort of like create some more motivation for this character. But anyways, it's an interesting.
And I wonder too if, and again, not to spoil anything, if they don't lean into the fallen angel thing because they want to reserve that, like
later on.
But I mean, I think it is fitting that we don't know much about Azazel because also the Bible doesn't seem to know much about Azazel.
Well, yeah. Azazel is the Hawkman of the supernatural world.
Oh, man. So many retcons.
Yeah. Is he an alien? Is he?
Yeah, as Azazel has like an nth metal mace.
But is also an alien, but also is somebody with just wings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that lore, why don't we get into today's episode?
Oh, let's do it. Don't mind me. I'm just standing up because my fitness thing tells me I got to stand.
It was really funny because I get the notifications whenever you put the video for our for the Patreon episodes of our other podcasts.
Oh, yeah, you saw me activating the camera with my cool new Go Gadget Apple Watch thing. Yeah,
it made me laugh really hard because I just see like a preview of it, like that pops up in my email, and it's you with your hand.
I love feeling like Dick Tracy or like a super spy or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's very funny. All right, let's get into today's episode. This is the second to last episode, and instead of the standard then and now recap, the show actually opens with the road so far, just like the last two episodes of season 1. This time, they show clips of all of the special psychic kids the Winchesters have met along the way, and hints that they've gotten, about Sam's destiny. So
yes, that's right.
It's basically, you get those sort of like 70s like piano going through, and it's just like shot after shot of all of these moments from this season of all these supernatural kids.
Yes, exactly.
So we then open, and Sam and Dean pull up to a cafe off the road to grab a bite to eat. A cool bit of fun information about this is that whole diner was actually built by the Supernatural production crew. It was because nothing like that really exists outside of Vancouver. So about 50 miles outside of Vancouver, they actually built a whole like tiny little diner. It's actually, I mean, the way that Bob Singer describes it, it's like the world's smallest diner. Like it's basic. There's no kitchen behind it or anything. It's just like this one room and a sign out front.
They actually they actually built it though, instead of just like right. Instead of just building, I mean, a facade outside doing the rest on a soundstage, they just built the thing there and filmed the inside.
Yeah. They built basically just like a box, essentially.
I guess if you're building something anyway, you might as well build it all in one spot instead of building two things.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So Dean waits in the car with the music cranked up. He makes a sarcastic comment. Don't forget the extra onions this time. Also, see if they've got any pie.
Okay, I haven't been keeping track as we've been going.
Yeah.
How many pie things have we been getting? Because this still feels early.
It is.
In terms of like Dean's pie journey.
This is maybe the second or third, because we got that one from the first season, basically.
Yeah.
And then I think this might be the second or the third.
Yeah, it does feel like early in that trope of Dean being like obsessed with pie.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Does he have pie in last week's gin episode?
Oh, interesting. I don't think so.
Remember, but
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Dean looks through the window and sees several people inside of the diner. Suddenly, the radio becomes staticky inside the Impala and fades out. When Dean looks back into the window, he sees an empty diner. Dean rushes in and finds one guy covered in blood, completely dead, with his head on the table.
Yep. Yeah, he's dead.
Yep. Looking over the counter, he finds two more dead people on the floor. Dean then goes back to the door, but Sam's nowhere to be found. Dean, however, notices traces of sulfur on the windowsill, realizing the demons have been there. He rushes back to the front door and shouts, "Sam! Sam!" at the top of his lungs. That's my... Did I do a good Dean, Sam?
It was pretty good. I do like that.
But basically, the cold open is like, they show up at a diner and then Sam just disappears and everybody dies.
I love how dangerously they portray demons in these kind of early seasons. You know, we don't get a ton of them, right? We spend most of our time with ghosts in the first two seasons. Like the vast majority of our monsters are ghosts or versions of ghosts. And demons are always this like next step up, right? They're the thing where, you know, even from, is it Phantom Traveler the first time that we get one?
Yeah.
Even from then, it's like, holy shit, are we gonna be able to pull this off? Like so having
demon,
this opening
whoa.
where it's just like kind of like in an instant, all these people are dead and Sam is just gone. It's kind of like, holy shit, man, demons are scary.
Yeah, they're like next level for them, and it's a thing that they've talked about in the last two seasons, where demons are things that hunters like barely even interact with at this point. Like,
yeah,
until hell has broken loose, that we really don't know.
Yeah,
we don't really have to deal with them very often.
Yeah, and then later they're like, I mean, like hell has been loose. Like,
yeah. So we then fade with Dean yelling Sam. We actually fade into the next scene, which is Sam waking up to find himself in a deserted pioneer town where there appears to be nobody around.
I love this ghost town set. This is such a cool location. It's creepy, but it's also got this kind of like, you're right. When we were talking about the limbo thing, it feels like a place between, even though it is a literal physical place. We're not in a dreamscape or anything. No. But it does kind of have that feeling of like the train station and something like that. Like somewhere, it does feel like it's like in the Vale, even though it's not kind of thing.
It's Schrodinger's Western town. Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah, exactly. And it's so isolated. It's both like a place where, you can go in that building and that building and that building, but it's like, try to leave. See if you can. Like exactly. It has that kind of haunting feeling to it too. Great set. Like one of the best, I think, from the first two seasons. Just like awesome location.
Well, I've got a lot to say about this ghost town.
Hit me.
So first of all,
no, Richard, hit me.
Ugh.
Oh,
through the fucking Zoom. It's the kind of power I've got. I've been working out.
Oh, man. That's what 4DX is? Oh,
no. Yeah. When someone gets punched in the movie, you get punched in the in their seat.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's how I want to see F9.
So initially, the pitch for the sort of place where all of where Sam goes to was not actually a Western town. It was going to be like an orphanage. That was sort of the initial sort of pitch for it. And when they were sort of doing like location scouting, the people who were sort of run like production sets, like production locations and stuff in Vancouver, like the representatives from like I don't know if it's the Vancouver Film Association or something like that, but basically the people who help film teams like figure out spots to go to had basically said, hey, we've got this Western town set. And so this is actually a Western set called Border Town, which was actually built in 1989 for a show, you guessed it, called Border Town. About like 37 movies and TV shows have filmed there, including a bunch, like a couple of CW shows. Legends of Tomorrow, their Western episode, it was filmed in the same set. So, but the guys who owned this actual location don't really give a shit about it. They don't really upkeep it or anything like that, which doesn't always work for a lot of people who actually want to have like Western, like actual like Western time stuff.
Right. If you're setting it in a Western, it needs to look lived in and like modern for the time.
Yeah.
Like ancient and run down.
Exactly. But it's but for what they needed to have something that looked like this abandoned ghost town, it actually worked kind of perfectly. They also almost didn't get the opportunity to film in this location because basically the entire week that they were shooting, it was completely rained out to the point where they didn't think they were talking about potentially helicoptering everybody in. Like it was so bad.
So hang on. So this set was available, but their original idea was an orphanage, which kind of works with the idea of all of these like chosen children. Yeah. So like even just philosophically, like could they not find an orphanage that looked right? And then they decided this, or they were just like, Western town is cooler. Let's do that.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So luckily the day that they were actually scheduled to shoot there, it had dried up enough that they could get in, but they basically, I don't know the full story, but basically they were like, we can get in, but we don't know if we're going to get out.
Wow.
And Eric Kripke's response was, but you can film, right?
That's funny. I like that.
The background for this town is actually based, and we talk a bit about it on the episode. There was a bit more that actually got cut out, but this is actually based on a real ghost town called Dudleytown from Connecticut. And we talk about the most like haunted town in America. This is sort of where that came from. Dudleytown was never an actual town. The name was given at an unknown date to a portion of Cornwall that included several members of the Dudley family. The area became known as Dudleytown, was settled in the early 1740s by Thomas Griffith, followed by Gideon Dudley, and by 1753, Barzillai Dudley and Abiel Dudley. Martin Dudley joined them a few years later. Other families also settled there.
I mean, listen, they gave up on the naming when they got to Martin.
Yeah.
All of those other names were so outrageous. Martin.
Barzillai, Abiel, Martin. Yeah.
Crazy.
So a rumor had been frequently shared on the internet for years, as alleges that the founders of Dudleytown were descended from Edmund Dudley, an English nobleman who was beheaded for treason during the reign of Henry the what's V and then 3 I's?
It's Henry VIII.
Yeah, that's it. I don't even know fucking Roman numerals, whatever.
Welcome to Letters, a Roman numerals podcast.
Yeah,
my name is Reed, and this is going to be the driest hour and a half of your day.
Look, I don't know math, and I barely know English. Putting them together isn't fair.
Let's get into it. Roman numerals. Look at the numbers. What the numbers are letters.
The worst podcast ever. So from that beheading on, the Dudley family was placed under a curse which followed them across the Atlantic Ocean to America. This curse is blamed for instances such as crop failures and mental illnesses in the village. After the beheading of their father, the Dudleys fled to America in hopes of escaping the curse, but their involvement with a mythical book believed to open the gates of hell doomed them and anyone else who befriended them. The town they established was repeatedly plagued by murder, suicide, madness, and failed businesses. Even though there's little left of the town now, it'll never be forgotten.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of cool. Where we are in the far north, we live pretty close to like an abandoned town that like nature has reclaimed.
I mean, town is a pretty rough term, but
no, I mean it was the Dai was like a major.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one in the Canyon City.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about Canyon City. No, but Dai was this town that has now been reclaimed by nature, but it doesn't have like the ghost town aspect. It's just abandoned.
Yes,
the ghost town thing is so fucking cool.
Yeah, there's a Shoppers Drug Mart and a Canadian Tire with some leaves on it. Yeah, it's real spooky. So, Sam quickly reaches into his pocket for his cell phone, but gets no signal. He walks around to some of the buildings nearby, but nobody is in sight. He suddenly hears footsteps coming from behind, coming from the side of a building. Grabbing a block of wood, he creeps closer to the corner of the building and prepares to strike. The approaching threat turns out to be Andy.
Oh, Andy, he's back, baby.
Yeah, you can tell he's Andy.
We haven't seen Andy since we were up on top of that dam and his brother was trying to kill everyone.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You can tell it's Andy because he's got his name written on the bottom of his shoe. So,
damn it, that was funnier than I wanted that to be.
But yeah, I love it because Andy's very just like, I mean, he's being Andy. He's like doop 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 doop, like just like, oh, this is weird, like.
Yeah.
But he's a bit freaked out about the whole situations.
Rightfully.
Yeah. An interesting fact here: Andy's earrings are actually in the opposite ear from when they first appeared in Simon Said. For some reason, just a mix-up, I guess. But
I mean, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Random piece.
That wouldn't be okay. This I know. This is we don't have an answer to this, but like, do they ever like film stuff for a TV show and then go like, "Fuck, I wish the orientation was different," and then just flip it like.
Oh, interesting.
Like, do you think maybe they put it in the right ear, but then they were like, it's cooler if he comes around like the left side of the building, and they just like reverse it? Do you think that's ever a thing?
I mean, definitely possible for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a thing you could easily do in production.
Sometimes wonder when it's things like that where it's like just on the opposite side, but the detail is there, but it's weird to know that much detail, but then mess up which side it's on.
Well, because my guess is that they're not really going back and watching these episodes. Most likely, not every member of the crew is. What they do is they have a show Bible typically that will like give characters information and maybe just say he's got earrings or he's got two earrings or something like that. So my guess is that it probably said that, but not specified which side. And somebody was just like, well, it's probably this side.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough.
But who knows? So he immediately asks Sam several times where they are, but Sam can give no reply. Sam asks Andy what's the last thing that he remembers, and he replies, honestly, my fourth bong load. And an intense smell of sulfur. Cool. Yeah, God. Suddenly they hear screaming, and they run following the screams down the street to a locked shack. Here's a thing that I don't really get, and this is we'll readdress this later on. But I'm not sure how the shack got locked. But Sam breaks the padlock and Ava runs and hugs him. She freaks out and asks where they are. So now we've got Andy and we've got Ava. We've got these characters, these supernatural kids from this whole season already starting to pop up. Giving her no answer, Sam asks how long she's been there. She says she doesn't know. She only woke up about a half an hour ago. Sam tells her that he and Dean have been looking for her for months. She immediately becomes exasperated about her fiance, but Sam doesn't tell her the truth about him. However, he now realizes what the three of them have in common.
Right. Yeah. I forgot about that. Oh, poor
guy. At the moment, they hear a voice coming from across the street. The three of them find a man in an army uniform. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Aldous Hodge.
Oh, Aldous Hodge, who's going to be playing Hawkman. Somehow the second time we've brought up Hawkman this episode.
That is very weird. But yeah, so he's got, there's this army guy as well as a young girl who appears to be kind of goth.
Yeah.
Sam introduces himself, as does the army guy whose name is Jake, and Lily is the goth girl. Lily questions where they are because a minute ago she was in San Diego, and Jake says he fell asleep in Afghanistan and woke up here. So,
I mean, that's a best case scenario if you're a soldier in Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's great. I fell asleep in Afghanistan and woke up here in this abandoned ghost town. This rules.
I think it's technically better.
Yeah, at least from like an army situation in Afghanistan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jake Talley, Aldous Hodge, mentions to Sam that he feels like he woke up in Frontierland, to which Sam replies, "Welcome to a Brave New World," which is a title of the book written by Aldous Huxley from 1932. Very similar to
Yeah.
Aldous Hodge, which is kind of interesting. But.
I mean, that's not the connection, though. They just cast Aldous Hodge in this
No, I know,
role.
but it is an interesting coincidence.
Yes, okay, yeah.
Also, Aldous Hodge plays an army officer in in a movie, Jack Reacher Never Go Back from 2016. So,
Is that the one with Chris Pine as Jack Reacher?
Is it? I never watched the second one. I just assumed that it was still Tom Cruise, but
No, Tom Cruise has oh, sorry, Jack Reacher. I'm thinking of Jack Ryan.
oh no.
I'm thinking of Jack Ryan. Yeah, you're right. Jack
Okay.
Reacher. Sorry.
Yeah. So excited Aldous Hodge is here. So
I love him. He is a terrific actor, and he is so goddamn good in this episode and next week's episode.
definitely. So Sam takes a wild guess and asks if they're both 23. Also, the fact that all of these people are supposed to be 23 years old makes me want to jump out a window.
I know. Also, like, these are 23-year-olds that, like, doesn't Ava like own a house? And
Yes.
shit, like, it's like,
Yeah, are these 23-year-olds in 1956? Like,
yeah. I mean, Aldous Hodge has seen 2 tours or whatever. Which,
Yeah.
like, by 23 in the army,
Possible.
totally possible, totally reasonable. But like, they all look, I mean, fucking perfect. First of
yes.
all, but
Yes.
also, like, Ava owns a house. She's like, I'm
Yes.
getting married. I'm 23.
Yes. I've got the world in front of me.
Nothing could go wrong.
Yeah. When you're 23, the whole world is ahead of you. You
Yeah.
suck.
Yeah, not like now.
Yeah. We're like aged. We're
We're 33.
Yeah.
It's all downhill. Baby.
Oh, we are. Yeah, we're literally 10 years older than these people. That sucks. Sam takes a wild guess and asks if they're both 23 and then goes on to say that they all have abilities. Sam says that he has visions, as in sees things before they happen. Ava replies, me too. Andy adds that he can put thoughts into people's head and make them do stuff, which is a weird way to describe that. Lily officially freaks out, says that whenever she touches someone, their heart stops.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. She's rogue, I guess.
Yeah, but except at least Rogue got something out of them too.
Yeah, that's
She's like
true.
all Lily does is kill people.
Yeah, not great. Sam says the point is that they are all here and have to deal with what's ahead of them.
Yeah.
Andy inquires as to who brought them here, taking a beat, knowing that this one will be hard to explain. Sam says it's less of a who than it being a demon.
Yeah. So not only do you all have to grapple with the fact that you have powers, but
Yes.
here's a little fun tidbit.
Yeah,
demons are fucking
exist.
real.
Yeah. Which maybe means hell exists, which maybe mean heavens exist, which means
the implications, and like the show is very wise to like take its time with
Yes.
those other things. You know, like
yeah,
even in this season, you know, that episode with the priest,
yeah.
the priest ghost and stuff like that, where it's like, are there angels? And the show's like, we can't.
Yeah, I
can't deal with this yet.
I can't start with this.
Yeah.
So on the DVD commentary, the writer of this episode, Sarah Gamble, actually says that The Breakfast Club from 1985 was the inspiration for this episode's plot. In both the movie and this episode, 5 desperate young people are trapped in a circumscribed space and learn about each other's lives and personalities. It was and as you listen to the commentary, she brings it up multiple times, and eventually to the point where Kripke's like, "Wait, really?" And she's like, "Yeah," like the goth girl,
Because there's the jock,
Yeah, the popular girl.
the goth girl, the nerd burnout kid,
the like sports guy, which is like the army dude, like
the sort of
Yeah.
preppy girl, which
Yeah.
is like Ava, yeah.
isn't that really funny?
And just like the movie The Breakfast Club, a demon forced them together.
Yeah, I mean, basically, God, that guy would have made a good Azazel, actually. that principle, like,
Yeah.
that'd have been really good. What's also interesting is like listening to the commentary for this episode. Sarah talks about how hard getting to this point of the episode is because she's like, you have to write all of these people meeting each other and then all of this exposition basically explaining it. There's no like, it's like the first episode of the whole series. It's like you have to do like so much expositional writing that it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, you're
And
right. It's almost like writing a pilot. Yeah, you're right.
Also, you have to do this sort of like, oh, hi, my name is Sam. What is your name? Like, there's so much like bullshit writing that like feels super clunky and long-winded, but like is reality.
I think they pull it off in this one though. Like I watched this episode a few times now, and I don't feel like the gears grind at all. Like,
well, there was multiple.
I think the writing is really strong in this, considering all of these fucking hoops it's jumping.
Oh
through.
yeah, Sarah is an incredible writer. Also, she had a ton of versions of this beginning.
Sure.
Kripke kept being like, nope, like until she got it right. So it is a really hard one. But I think that like given all that she has to do in this, it was really, really well done. So, but we now flash from the Old West town to we're on the road, and we've got Dean and Bobby.
Love Bobby.
They're at a dead end with their hunt at this point to find Sam. Bobby says that things have been quiet in all areas of the country, and that if a demon was here, it left no trace. Dean's phone then rings, and it's Ash.
Okay, I'm sorry to do this, but we've been going through Fast and Furious movies, my wife and I, because, well, I'm making her watch them, but I'm excited about it. But Ash, I only just clued in, is in the first one. He dies in the first one, and that's when like Dom goes nuts and like drives off.
That's right. Yeah, he is.
Killed him. Yeah, I was partway through the movie, and I was like, I know who this person is.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's Ash, and he's got info that is bigger than anything he's ever seen, and that it will most certainly help him find Sam. Ash tells Dean to get to the roadhouse as quickly as possible. Dean and Bobby waste no time taking off in the Impala. So in doing some research for this episode, an interesting fact that I didn't realize came in front of me, which was, to this point, at the end of season 2, they actually don't have a name for Baby. The Impala has no name at this point. And the fans actually came up with a name that isn't Baby online at this point, which is Metallicar.
It's such like a different tone though. Like Metallicar feels like it should have like rockets in it.
It's like a Mad Max car, yeah.
Yeah, it should like fire grenades or something. Yeah.
It's really funny because like in the commentary for this episode specifically, I think Robert Singer brings up, he's just like, yeah, we don't really have a name for the car. And Eric goes, and Sarah goes like, yeah, totally. And I'm like, oh my God, are they going to come up with it in this commentary? And Eric goes, well, no, the fans came up with a name for it, which one is a really interesting thing to come up because they basically recorded this before this actual season even came out. They recorded all the commentary before the actual show even aired. So they had done
that. They were aware and monitoring fans and their theories and their reactions and that all the way back.
Yes.
In 2007 or whatever. Yeah.
And like we're connected to like internet culture surrounding the show, and we're like validating it. Cause like even Eric was just like, oh yeah, the fans have a name for it. Like as if he was going to already like maybe put that in or something like that.
Yeah. Like he had accepted that was the judgment of the fans and therefore the name of the car. Yeah.
Yes. Which is really funny because then Sarah goes like, what? And he goes, yeah, on the internet. He's like, you know what it is. And she's like, oh. Yeah. And he's like, it's a Metallica. So she like clearly knows this, does not want to justify that name because it's terrible, which I love
that.
I love it, which is interesting because Sarah eventually becomes the showrunner. So you can tell sort of like what, like that, like there's a reason why Baby got put forward and Metallica didn't.
I mean, and it's a good thing that it did because it's also just truer to their characters, right? You know, the way Dean treats it, like, oh no, Baby, I'll take care of you. Like I could see him calling a girlfriend Baby. Like that feels so right. Metallica is like a fun meta thing where it's like he loves rock music.
Yeah. It's a thing that you go like, it's the Metallica, but no one would ever actually say that on the show, which doesn't work. So we then go back to the ghost town. Sam is explaining to the group that they're all soldiers fighting in a demon war to bring on the apocalypse.
Very easy stuff to digest. Yeah.
I just love it. It's so much to give somebody. Like, you just wake up in a place and someone's like, okay, I know you're scared, but you've got special powers. A demon gave them to you. You're soldiers for an army of demons in the apocalypse.
Especially because Sam is the only one of them, really, who is like, I actually know what's going on.
Yes.
Not like
and they just have to believe him.
They don't all have this like exposure to the world of the supernatural, right? And then they're all coming together. He's just like, trust me. And then, like, if I was them, I'd be like, you kidnapped us.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're sick, and
he's like Jigsaw lying down on the floor in the first Saw movie. It's like, you know this, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. How did you figure all this out?
Yeah.
So, with everyone in disbelief, Jake says he's better off on his own and takes off. He walks around the corner and sees a girl in the window of an abandoned schoolhouse. Very scary.
Nothing creepy about that at all.
Yeah. Children are terrifying. Let's all just acknowledge that right now.
Yeah. And so are abandoned schools.
So are schools in general. Jake walks in and finds the phrase, "I will not kill," written all over the chalkboard.
Uh-oh.
Which is
chalkboard trying to convince.
Yeah, it was actually written by like a PA, and they basically just told him to write it really fast. But what's funny is that if you actually look at it, it's written very cutely too. Like there's little circles over the eyes and stuff.
Now,
which I think it's supposed to be
done because they knew it would be a little girl, in the window, or do you think
that's
they
the
wrote
PA,
it and then they were like, we need a little girl in here?
Yeah. God, oh God, what did you do here? The circles over the eyes. I guess it's a little girl.
We're losing light. The road is washed out. We're not going to get out of here.
Yeah. Jesus, Bear, why did you write like that? Oh, I just thought it was cute.
That's how I write everything.
Yeah. You're lucky I didn't put the heart over the eye like I normally do.
Tee-hee-hee. Let's film this.
I'm a pretty princess. Deal with it. It was actually just one of the truckers that they pulled aside. Jake turns around and sees the girl, who proceeds to attack him. But before she can make her mark on him, Sam stabs her with a cast iron rod and is dissipated into black smoke. Sam lets everyone know that was a demon.
Oh, wait, does he say demon?
Yeah.
But that's not really what was happening there.
But black smoke is demon.
The black smoke, yeah.
Yeah.
But the iron rod thing,
it's a ghost thing. Yeah, I know. It's a bit of mixed messages here. The five of them walk outside in shock. Sam tells them that he's not sure, but he thinks that was an atchery, a demon who disguises itself as a girl. So that's why.
I mean, this is the first time we're hearing this shit too as viewers.
Ridiculous. Sam glances over at the bell in this town square. After studying it after a few seconds, he knows where they are. He says they're in Cold Oak, South Dakota, a town so haunted that every single resident fled. So it's based on this Dudley town, but they sort of changed it. I don't know if Cold Oak is an actual town. I didn't read anything about that when I was looking up this episode, but they claim that this is the idea behind this town. Lily says that they should just get the hell out. But the only way out is through miles of woods. So again, sort of playing into this idea of this limbo, right? Even if you could.
Yeah, it's the scary thing of technically they're not in chains, they're not in a cell, they're free, but it's the Alcatraz thing of fine, leave, see how far you get.
It's kind of like living where we live right now.
Yeah, that's kind of true too.
Especially during COVID when they're like, well, don't get on a plane. You're like, cool. So I'm trapped in this town and I can't leave.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Sam says the best thing they can do is stick together. So they go to this ramshackle house. Sam, Andy, Ava, and Jake enter the ramshackle house in search of iron and salt or anything that can be used as a weapon at this point. Yeah. Lily breaks away from the group, heading into the woods, attempting to escape. She tries to escape into the woods, but she keeps hearing noises and as she's moving forward. We then flash to the roadhouse. Dean and Bobby arrive at the roadhouse to find it burnt down in ruins.
No! Harvell's!
They look through the rubble for a trace of Ash or Ellen. Dean finds Ash's watch attached to a charred arm in the woods.
Yeah, you could say they found Ash's ashes.
Bravo. Yeah, I'm proud of you. That's a good one.
Rest in peace, Ash.
Rest in ashes.
Oh.
So here's an interesting fact. So, I mean, the Roadhouse really, what we know that their Roadhouse was initially sort of pitched as like their home base, and then they realized that the Bobby was such a great character, they wanted to attach him to him instead, and so that became sort of their de facto father and became their base, and so the need for Roadhouse kept sort of getting more and more separated from the show.
And really, I think in my head they spent a lot more time there than they do in this season. Like they're there like 4 times maybe.
Yeah,
I think in my head there was a lot more Roadhouse. I was sort of like, oh yeah, this happens now. Like,
so what started happening was, especially through the second season, as they went through, Eric sort of started hating the Roadhouse. He basically said that he felt that it was like every time he saw this visual of like a hunter bar where there's just like guys in the background like cleaning their guns ready to go for a vampire hunt, it felt unrealistic to him and felt like it was too much of like a fantasy. Like you would have in like a sci-fi book or something where it's like here's the like bar, here's the like diner at the end of the universe where all of these like sci-fi guys go to, right? Like it's a little too improbable. Like it doesn't feel
because it's too like out in the open for the hunting community.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there's like hunter world that they all go to. Like it feels like the whole point is that these guys all work sort of separately and they have like a network, but it's all through like whispers and like back channels.
Yeah. Although even we've talked about this on the show already, is as people get saved by hunters, you would think that more of an economy and a culture of
definitely
like, shouldn't there be more businesses where you go in and they like tap on the wall and the thing spins around and it's a bunch of salt and shit? Like you would think there would be more of that, and I could see Harvell's fitting there, but maybe it's just because there's no one comes into Harvell's and then gives the signal and goes to the back. They're all just out in the thing.
It feels like a thing that reads really cool, but once you start seeing it, it sort of feels like kind of fake and weird. Because I think like a great example of that is a thing that we'll get later on. There's a lot of like pilots that end up getting sort of shoved into Supernatural, and there's one that happens in Chicago like late season that in theory sounds really cool, but when you actually watch it, sort of doesn't work.
It ends up being like one of the more boring episodes.
Because I think it reads great, but it's more of like what your mind can do with it rather than what it actually visually comes out through.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So an interesting piece. So the way that they know that it's Ash is from the watch that's attached to his arm. The only reason why you know that that's Ash's watch is they had to work backwards, because basically like they always knew they were going to kill Ash in this. So as they were like talking about this episode throughout the season and when they were going to write it, they kept being like, well, yeah, there's a corpse with a mullet. That's sort of what they kept just saying.
Could you imagine if they like skeleton skull
like Star Wars, like the Star Wars, like the aunt and uncle, but like just the hairs. God, this skeleton's dry, but God, does it look cool?
Yeah, he put so much product in his mullet that it didn't burn.
Yeah. But so when they actually got to go to film it, they're like, this is ridiculous. We can't have a fucking mullet on like a corpse, even if it was like mostly alive. Like it just would look ridiculous, right? So there's a scene when Ash first calls Dean that if you look, there's a weird random shot where they're like, what time is it? And they just like zoom in on his watch.
Right.
So in the script, it was supposed to be a calculator watch. That's what Sarah wanted, but Robert Singer was like, "That's ridiculous. I'm not gonna." He's like, he's not gonna have a calculator watch. So they changed it to this sort of like old school kind of like Soviet era watch. But
it would have been amazing if it was like his computer, like he just took a normal watch and then wired like a big calculator to it. like
Inspector Gadget. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Very funny, but yeah. So that's the reason why it's the watch, and
Right.
and now when you notice it, it's such an obvious moment earlier on because it's just like, boom, you'll remember this watch later. Even Robert Singer was like, it's so cheesy, but it makes sense.
I do kind of love that in TV shows. And I mean, the more that I studied theater in that, but it applies to TV. And the more TV I watch and the more we do podcasts where we're talking about and breaking down these things, now like you watch things and you just see a moment and you can tell that it's jarring. It's like, why would you in this moment ask for the time? And then you go like, I bet it's to see the watch. Like
exactly.
You can start seeing like the strings. I sort of love that.
Yeah. So we then get a quick flash back in the woods with Lily hearing a little girl laughing in the distance, and she's still continuing on through the woods. We then go back to the ramshackle house. Sam finds a chest with a hunting knife inside of it and collects it. He turns around to find Ava rubbing her temples as though she's in pain. He asks if she's okay. She says she's still freaked out and hungry. Andy rushes in and he finds 2 bags of salt that they can line against the house to protect themselves. Because you know how like abandoned towns just have bags of salt everywhere.
I know it's literally like a jigsaw setup.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Would you like to play a game? In this mining town, the only thing that people left was salt and iron. Will this be enough to save you?
Could you just live off of salt and knives for one day?
Yeah. There's no water. How will you swallow the salt? Especially because it comes on the heels of Ava being like, I'm hungry. And he's like, good news, everybody. I've
got salt. Yeah. Now you just need food and we're set. At that moment, Sam notices that Lily is missing. The group hears laughing coming from outside and heads towards the front door. As they walk outside, they find Lily dead, hanging from the windmill. Sam realizes that Lily was trying to leave and that the demon is not going to let them get away that easy.
Yeah.
There's a part in the commentary where Sarah's just like, oh, God, she needed to look more dead. And they were like, what? And she was like, yeah, maybe I've just been working on the show too much, but she should have had like guts coming out and like blood and stuff.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, Sarah's awesome. They must stay and gear up for the next attack. They realize that basically, this is like an assault on Precinct 13. Like they need to protect themselves.
I kind of love that. It's I sort of. Yeah.
That bottle episode sort of like thing. I mean, it's a thing that they do in the future too. And I always love when it's like batten down the hatches, prepare for war. I love that feeling.
But also like strangers forced together.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even know if we can trust each other, but this is our only way out. Kind of like, I love that sort of thing.
I love it. Sam is walking alongside Andy and he tells him how much he wishes he could have gotten in touch with Dean because they could use his help. Andy says that it might be a possibility and asks if he has anything that Dean has touched. And Sam just like shows his abs.
Oh my God.
Sorry, reading from my fan fiction again.
Yeah.
Sam hands him a receipt bearing Dean's ID, Dean's signature, which is D. Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
So that's David Hasselhoff, for those who don't know, star of Knight Rider and Baywatch, things like that.
Yeah, no one knows who Hasselhoff is.
Well, I don't know. There might be younger people.
I mean, this is the thing. We're 33. There's probably some 18-year-olds who are like, I love Supernatural. You're like, who the fuck is Hasselhoff?
Yeah, exactly. It's an important piece. Yeah, I know. We're gonna die. Mortality is upon us. Andy begins to use the psychic ability to put visions of the town in Dean's head. So you'll see there. You can't kill yourself now, or were you just gonna jerk off? I can't. You wrap a cord around your neck.
I was just putting the mic cord around my neck. I just like to be ready
because we're about to talk about Dean.
For wherever the mood takes me, it could go one way or another.
Could go both ways.
Listen, I was a Cub Scout. I'm always prepared.
Oh no! I don't think you meant that the way you meant.
Stuff around our necks.
Oh, you too? So we then go to Dean and we see flashes of Dean sort of seeing this town in his head. He's sort of getting the same sort of migraines and things like that. Dean and Bobby are walking back to the Impala and they have no idea where Ellen is or if she's even alive. Dean starts getting this migraine and starting losing balance and getting vision of a large bell with an oak tree engraved on it. Bobby realizes that cold oak is where Sam is and they take off. So then we go.
I love that. Like, not only do they know about this ghost town, but apparently it has like a famous scenic bell.
Yes.
That like the bell, they're like, oh, that's Cold Oak.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's the fucking Eiffel Tower, and they're like, oh yeah, that's Paris.
I assume because it's Bobby, he knows about any haunted shit. But
I know, but wouldn't every frontier town have a church with a fucking bell? Like,
yeah, but it's a bell with an oak tree on it.
I guess, yeah.
But yes. So we go back to the ramshackle house. Sam and Jake are making cast iron weapons. Jake reveals that his abilities started with headaches, but after he witnessed a man flip a truck on a bad road, he became pinned underneath it. He lifted it off him like it was nothing. So now we're finding out what Jake's power is, which is sort of he has got super strength.
Yeah.
He says he thought it was a fluke of adrenaline at first, but then he discovered that he could bench press 800 pounds with little effort, which is...
Oh, yeah. And I wish we got a cutaway of that, but...
Yeah, it's just him bench pressing you.
Oh, and I have the mic cord around my neck.
Yeah. He's struggling a bit, so you get sort of like really how strong he is.
Son of a bitch. I'm sorry, I had a big lunch.
Yeah. I'm 850 pounds.
Sorry, are you saying I had a 50-pound lunch?
If you weigh 800 pounds, is that hard to believe?
Yes.
Jake thanks Sam for being the voice of calm and reason for everyone, even though he recognizes from experience the look of terror is on Sam's face as well, and he's trying to conceal it.
Yeah, even though you're obviously the guy that kidnapped us, thank you for keeping us calm.
Yeah, thanks so much, sir. We really appreciate you being the not involved with this thing and being really nice to us. Be great if I survived.
Exposition. Nothing to see here.
Weird that none of us know where we are, but you have all the information. Thank you for that. Sam tells him that his brother Dean always says things to calm him, that he'll watch over him and that everything will be okay. Yeah. But he doesn't know if he believes it this time. Something really big and bad is coming.
Yeah, calm down, Sam. Just relax.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, showing up in this Western town, I figured it would be nice to know if I was going to be here beforehand rather than finding out just by waking up there. You just wake up one day and suddenly you're in a Western town. Just figured.
I can't remember. The implication with Ava is that she has been like in a coma for months. That she wakes up and she's like, oh, I'm in this Western town. But no one else seems to have like a gap of time missing. No. Like Andy's not like, I was on the bridge and now I'm here. Like no one else seems to have that, eh?
Yeah. But I think that because they're dealing with so much trauma and figuring out like emergencies that they're not even questioning it. But
probably,
yes. So later that evening, Sam and Ava are lining the doors with salt, lining the doors and windows with the salt. Ava tells Sam her horoscope told her not to get out of bed. She then asks about her fiance Brady. As much as he hates to, he tells Ava that when the demon took her, Brady didn't make it.
I mean, that's an understatement.
Yeah, he didn't make it. And by that, I mean he was savagely murdered.
By that, I mean he didn't make it kind of all over the room.
We walked in and he didn't make it everywhere.
Yeah, he didn't make it on the ceiling.
It's not like when I walk in on Dean and he makes it everywhere. He didn't make it everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Like with Dean, on the ceiling and the walls. But instead of parts of him, it was part of him. Yeah.
God. Oh, jeez Louise.
Like, do you want to give more detail? I'm talking about cum, just in case you were wondering.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I just didn't
Is
want.
this where you like some of our listeners might not know what cum is? Do you want to do a little aside?
Yeah, since the dawn of time. Yeah.
Gross.
So we go. And later that evening, everyone has wound down a bit, and Sam's trying to stay awake to keep watch. He closes his eyes for a second and opens them to see the yellow-eyed demon standing by the front door. He realizes he's dreaming when Jake doesn't hear his warning that the demon is right behind him. The demon invites Sam to take a walk with him outside. Much to our surprise, he goes with it. As they're walking outside, the demon recognizes that Sam's very quiet and responds, "I'm going to tear you to shreds, I swear."
I love this actor so much.
Yeah. The demon replies that when he wakes, he can give it his best shot. The demon tells Sam that he and the others are all in a competition to prove who's the strongest, but Sam's the one he's rooting for. Yeah, this actor is incredible because initially it was supposed to be just a different actor every time. Like the idea is that demons sort of choose bodies whenever they come in. But
I'm so glad they stuck with this guy though. I love that he's like kind of jokey, but he's also like, don't fuck with me. Like,
yeah. Well, it's interesting, right? Because it actually started with John getting possessed, and that actor's sort of take on that, and sort of it forced this guy to sort of do a version of that. But I mean, it is so perfect for that actor because this guy always kind of plays a version of this type of character. He's always kind of the bad guy in any show that he's ever been because he's sort of a day player in a lot of stuff, but.
And I think a lot of versions and interpretations of angels and demons make them these very like refined, like corporate kind of, I like that he's kind of like this blue collar thing, but he's also not like jacked. He doesn't look physically scary, but he's just got this like confidence and he's older looking and he looks like he's seen some shit and he can joke around, but he's also like, but I'll fucking kill you. Like we're having jokes as long as I want to have jokes kind of
exactly.
Like,
it's like this. It's scary because of how casual he's being, and you can can assume the amount level of power he has without him actually having to show it.
Yeah, but precisely. Yeah.
It's a good reminder that, and we had talked about it in the first episode of this season, these contexts, the yellow-eyed demon cannot see out of them. They're basically, like, he's not blackout blind, but he's basically can't really see anything that he's doing, which is interesting because this scene, he's actually moving around a bunch. And there's only
was there like a trick to that, or he just got real good at
got real good
embodying his marks and stuff?
Yeah, there's only like one shot where it kind of looks like, where sometimes you'll see like blind people having a conversation with people, and it's sort of like their eyes don't really move when they're just talking to them. There's only like one shot that I actually noticed it, but otherwise he does a really good job of just like feeling really confident in his skin, but like moving around like that. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, he's a great actor. Yeah.
So he says only one of them will survive and be the soldier from his generation, the leader in this upcoming war. Sam wants to know who this soldier is supposed to lead, and the demon replies that it will be an army that he almost has assembled. So we know that he's been working towards this army. Like there's shit happening behind the scenes.
Yeah. The plan is coming together.
Yeah. Sam tells the demon that he's ruined his life, killed almost everyone he loves. The demon mockingly replies that it was the cost of doing business. Jessica had to die because Sam was all set to marry her and become some tax lawyer with 2 kids and a McMansion in the suburbs.
Yeah, and it's also funny too, where it's like there's this thing where both from the demon and just from the show's perspective, we keep seeing like in the version of life that in the Jin episode where Sam does get is moving towards that, we're like, that's wrong. That's not how things are so even though the demon is doing something evil, he's also like, you and I both know that like it's better this way. Like it's just so creepy. The idea that it's like when both Dean and the demon essentially are like saying this is the way it has to be. It should be blah, blah, blah.
Destiny.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's when the show really starts addressing sort of the idea of destiny, and like the season really gets into it. And it's a thing that the show will sort of latch onto for the rest of the entire series.
Totally.
So he had to remove her in order to keep Sam focused on his fighting skills. Sam asks why he killed his mom. The demon says that was just bad luck. She just happened to walk in on the two of them 22 years ago, which is crazy.
I mean, and that's even worse that he's like, oh yeah, I'll ruin your life for fucking nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine if you crossed me.
But also the idea that this is like such a turning point in the lives of Sam and Dean. And
to him, it was like nothing. Yeah.
According to this same destiny thing, Jessica's death is more important. He's just like, oh yeah, I mean, your mom could have lived. I still would have fucking come for you. Like,
yeah. That's on her.
Yeah, that's so fucked up.
It wasn't about her. It was all about Sam. The demon pauses and says that since he is in a charitable mood, he will show Sam what happened the night his mom died. Yeah, because I'm feeling, because I'm such a nice guy, I'm gonna help you relive your mom's death that you were a baby for. So then you can see it too.
Yeah, trauma you didn't have.
Yeah, now you get to. Because I'm a nice guy. The demons take Sam into the past to replay the scene of Mary's death. Sam sees the demon standing beside the crib, slitting his wrist open and dripping blood into the baby's mouth. So I think we've talked about this before, but the production of actually doing this, because this is actually not shot from the original shot. They remade this whole thing. So they had to recreate that room. They basically had to bring Mary back in, like all of this. And it looks almost identical from the first season. They do Robert Singer does an incredible job.
Yeah, it's really well done.
But one of the things he said was, he was like, oh, yeah, Robert Singer was saying, like, directing this, he's like, lifting Mary up the wall was easy. Getting a baby to stop crying and drip blood into its mouth that a baby can consume was the hardest part.
Yeah, I know. And that's one of those things where you watch it and you're like, wow, what a great scene. And then you think about it and you're like, how did you get this shot?
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up, right? Especially because like when you're shooting with an infant, it's kind of like, it's like you don't have a lot of time. Like you have to get the kid to stop crying, but also like to find the thing that you can make blood out of and drip it into its mouth. Like there's so many elements of it.
A lot. I mean, what a complicated shot.
Yeah. Sam is mortified by the fact that he's consumed demon blood. A drowsy Mary approaches the darkened nursery to attend to the fussy baby Sam, but thinks it's John already standing next to the crib, so she proceeds to back down the hall, like we've already seen in all of that first season. Sam then tries to call out to Mary like a fucking idiot, because in every piece of like media ever, if the person shows you the past, you can't interact with it. Come on, Sam, it's the lore.
I know but listen, they lived on the road. Dean is the one that remembers his pop culture better than Sam does.
True, I guess that's true. But the demon reminds him that it's only a high def instant replay. God, I kind of love even the way he talks. I love.
I mean, saying high def, like, I mean, that we're so in the era of like DVDs.
Yeah, I know. So funny. But that this is not real and she cannot hear him. When Mary hears the TV and finds John actually sleeping in the front of it on the couch downstairs, she obviously runs back up into Sam's nursery. The demon turns around, revealing yellow eyes. She gasps, "It's you." Sam realizes that his mom apparently knew the demon already, which is a thing we didn't know up to this point.
It's a big reveal.
Yeah.
Huge.
This has so many implications, including the thing that we talked about in the beginning of this episode, the news. This has huge implications.
This is the piece that opens the door for this potential prequel series that will ruin a friendship.
Yes.
That may or may not exist.
Look, I just don't need you for that show. Oh, you were talking about Jared and Jensen. So anyways, Sam realizes that his mom apparently knew the demon already. The replay goes on. Mary is being forced up the wall toward the ceiling to Sam's horror, but the demon awakes Sam before he can see the consuming fire ignite. Because God, they're not going to fucking shoot that again. That was so much work.
I know, but it's also like, that feels like that's the Martha Pearls moment. Like, shouldn't we see that?
Yeah, right? I didn't see it. Maybe she didn't die. Jake is shaking Sam out of the dream, alerting him that Ava is now missing. Sam and Jake head outside and split up to find her. They don't notice her lurking behind a nearby building, because basically as they separate, they stay on the shot and you see Ava sort of sneak out from behind the building. Now sort of implicating her a bit, like going like, oh, why is she hiding around? Andy walks around inside the house to find Ava. Oh. As she breaks the line of salt on the windowsill, you see her directly grab the salt, push it off of the ledge. He is surprised to find her and asks if she heard them calling for her. She says yes, she did. She looks at Andy coldly and then places her hand against her temple as if she's got a headache again. Black demon smoke seeps in through the window and manifests as the atchery that threatened Jake earlier. The demon then attacks Andy and fucking like just shreds him apart through his chest.
It's bad.
It's not a good way to go. It looks real bad.
Andy.
I know. Ava then generates tears. I mean, this turn for her is such good acting, because she goes from cold to suddenly like she shakes herself out of it and then screams. And
and every time we've met Ava, she's like, "Oh my God, what's happening? Who am I? I have a fiance." Yeah. Like, and now she's just, oh God, cold. It's so like psychopathic. Yeah, it's incredible.
Sam runs back inside, sees Andy's body, and asks her what happened. She's got tears in her eyes, and tells him that she went to get a drink from the well, and when she came back, she found him like this.
Yeah.
So, as we're sort of like we've now killed 3 or 2 of these kids. 2 kids,
Lily and Andy.
So we're chopping through these kids. What's interesting is they actually initially wanted to keep the psychic kids like past throughout season 3 and maybe even beyond that.
Really?
Yeah, but again, through watching this season, Eric didn't like any of the psychic kid episodes. And was basically like, this is so much less interesting than like demons and all this other stuff. He's like,
but this is good storytelling, right? It's the same principle when you're like playing D&D. If you're like DM has a story that they have to adhere to no matter what happens, then like that's less fun than being like, oh, what's coming organically is more interesting. Let's go that way and then see where the story goes, see what is revealed. I think that's part of why this show gets to keep going and gets,
because it goes, oh, this isn't working, let's change this, right?
It's not like just like adhering to something for the sake of adhering to it. It's
also interesting, because it's one of those things again that's like reads better than it actually looks, because Eric was saying like a bunch of kids like just holding their heads and doing supernatural shit is not really that cool to watch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I totally agree. I think it's the right move to kill all these kids, to get rid of the Roadhouse. Like, they were all the right choices, in my opinion. So, Ava tells him that, she went back to go to drink from the well, and she came back, she found him like this. However, Sam notices the deliberate break in the line of salt on the windowsill and knows that Andy wouldn't have done that. All the pieces about Ava are beginning to fall together for him. Because again, like what you said earlier, wait, she's supposed to be here. Like, she's just been here for months, even though nobody else is. Like, all of these things don't make sense. She's been gone for 5 months, and this is the is the only one with all that time they can't account for it. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
He believes that Ava has gained the ability to control demons and is using that ability against them, noting that the last time she got a sudden headache was exactly when the demon got Lily. Realizing Sam has figured her out, she suddenly breaks character, comes out and admits that she's been in the town this whole time, which is crazy.
Wild.
What a fucking...
It's such a good turn. She's so good in this.
She's so much better in like an evil character than she is, I think, as a nice one. Like, I love her as like a bad person.
But is part of that because she does kind of win you over a bit as the nice one first.
Totally.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a really good turn. I love it.
She says more and more children like her and Sam have appeared, usually 3 or 4 at a time, and she's killed them all. She's declared herself the undefeated heavyweight champ.
Yeah.
Insane. She says that after a while, it became easy, even fun. Once she stopped fighting who we are. God, such a good like villain like monologue. She puts it to Sam that if he would just quit his hand wringing and open himself up, he'd realize all the things he's capable of. She mock sadly says, "Sorry, Sam, but it's over." Oh.
Yeah, it's that sort of like, we're not so different, you and I.
Yeah. Oh, God. You could have joined me, but there can only be one.
Yeah, exactly.
Then attempts to summon a demon to attack him. Jake arrives and breaks her neck from behind.
And it's fucking brutal.
It's the first moment you're like, holy shit. Because like ghosts and demons like killing people, you're kind of like old hat for this show, but to just see someone fucking snap another human's neck, like.
But also, it's like it's a big like misdirect, right? Like this Ava turn, and you're like, it was her, and then it's like, oh shit, we've already dealt with Ava.
Yeah,
it's like
crazy. She falls to the ground, and demon smoke dissipates back out the window before it reaches Sam.
Crazy,
insane. Sam and Jake then head outside and start walking towards the woods. Sam says that since Ava was controlling the demons, they should be able to make it out of town now that she's dead. However, Jake is not feeling the same way. He says the demon has come to him in a vision and told him that he is the only one of them that's getting out alive. So, Sam realizing now, it's like, oh, he didn't just say this to me. Like, all of them are the, like, number one.
Yeah, Azazel's playing all of them.
Yeah, he's not putting his eggs in one basket.
Literally wants to see who will win. This is the one moment that breaks the destiny thing a little.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? But I mean, you could still potentially believe that Sam, like, he still believes that Sam is the number one, but he's sort of like playing all of his cards still.
Yeah, both
are potentially still possible. He says he likes Sam, but it makes no sense for them to let it kill both of them. So this is when you start realizing, oh shit, maybe Jake is not, because I mean they really start playing Jake as and in the commentary they really say like they intentionally were like, and this is the thing that you'll see many times over as the series goes on, they were like, oh, let's make Jake as if it could be the Jake show going forward. Like, what if there was a spin-off series for Jake? Like, this is the thing that I think so many shows don't do, and so many people are afraid to do, is like, let's make the main character seem like maybe not like they're the main character and bring in other people. Yeah. That's just good ensemble casting and writing, but so many people are afraid to do that because they're like, oh no, we need to have our hero feel like the hero. And this show is so confident in its storytelling that it's like, no, it's fine. We'll bring in this guy and make him look like he could be the main hero.
But I think they also get to do it because it's that shared lead thing of Dean and Sam. Like, it would still be like a bonkers move to watch, but you still have the thing where it's like, I don't know, they could keep one of them and keep the show going, right? Like, so this could be it for them, you know?
Yeah. It's a super interesting thing, but it's one of the things that I love about Supernatural is they're so good at just like taking a character and going like, hell, let's make it this character's show. Yeah, like they do a really good job with that. So he says, regrettably, he's prepared to take Sam out. Sam pleads with him that together they can kill the demon and live. Both of them have weapons. Sam has a knife, Jake an iron rod. As a gesture of trust, Sam lays down his knife on the ground between them, asking Jake again not to do it. Jake reluctantly lays his rod down as well. But Jake turns on Sam, landing a punch packing all of his superhuman ability. Fucking sends Sam flying through like a fucking wood like fence, and just, I mean, it's like, oh yeah, he doesn't need a fucking rod.
And I mean, I know we want this to have drama and stuff like that, but you also kind of expect his arm to just go through Sam.
I mean, yeah,
like,
it's true.
Yeah.
It's interesting, because I mean this turns into like a really cool fight scene.
It's such a good fight, and really like visceral and violent and scary, and there's a lot like riding on it. And I think you're right. I think you are kind of like, is Sam gonna make it?
Yeah. Jake attempts to hit Sam again, but Sam manages to dodge his punch. Jake punches his hand through the wooden fence. Jake rebounds and delivers the crunching blow to Sam's shoulder. So now Sam's basically like one of his arms is out of commission. Yeah. Sam then lends a few punches and eventually knocks Jake out with a strike of the cast iron rod. Sam considers, but decides not to the chance to basically kill Jake as he lays unconscious.
Yeah,
being the good guy.
yeah, you don't kill someone, and I mean, A, he doesn't kill people generally,
Yeah.
but B, not
Cold
like
blood.
this, like cold blood execution style
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah. He drops the rod to the ground and then hears a familiar voice call his name. He turns around and sees Dean and Bobby down the road. He calls out to Dean while stumbling toward them. Just then, Jake gets up and grabs the knife, runs up behind Sam, and twists it into Sam's spine.
I know, it's brutal. It's bad. It's a very like precise military stab, you know, like that's the army thing. He's not just like willy-nilly doing it. He knows he's like severing his spine. It's this very like precise kind of thing.
Sam drops to his knees as the camera sort of moves up above him. This shot was intentionally made this way as an homage to Platoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you're making this sort of army thing. I get it. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Makes sense. Dean runs to save Sam, and he drops to his knees into Dean's arms as Bobby sprints after Jake. Dean tries to will Sam back to consciousness as he fades, but it's too late. Sam dies in Dean's arm.
Oh, man.
And that is the end of the episode.
I can't believe, I mean, I can because I've watched it a bunch, but
Yes.
I can't believe that's how they end the episode because
The end of the season. Well, yeah, there's only one more episode, but yeah,
because there's one more episode, but you're like, they killed Sam.
How is this the end of season 2?
Yeah. Really wild. Really, really wild. And God, I mean, Dean is barely in this episode, but he first gets the Sam when he disappears, and then he gets this at the end of the episode. It's such a good bookend of the two pieces there.
You don't even get the like classic like yelling out the name thing. They basically just go back to Dean's face as you get the single tear. Down is the classic.
He's so good at that too. Just squeeze him one tear out.
So here's the thing. Jensen said that he didn't even need to think about I mean, this hits even harder because of what we said at the beginning of this episode. Jensen,
man, that's gonna color so much of our commentary.
I know.
Moving forward.
Jensen said that he didn't even need to think of someone closer to him dying. Just the thought of Jared dying hurt him enough. After cut was called, Jensen just stayed on his knees crying and hugging Jared after he had to go walk it off for a bit.
Yeah, and now they're like, hey, Jensen, do you remember filming that scene with Jared? And he goes, with who?
Jared? Yeah.
Oh, you mean the Walker guy? Oh yeah, Jared, sure, yeah.
Good times. We really used to have some great chats.
He's a good pal.
I don't know if that makes me like Jensen more because I'm like, God, he is a good actor.
Well, but here's the thing: we're all reading too much into these tweets, but
no, we're not.
But even if that is an indication of something, is it an indication that it's Jensen being distant, or that Jared has sort of like has been more distant? Jared's like, no, we talk a bunch, but he's like never calls. Or is it that Jared is like, we talk a bunch, we're still friends, and Jensen's like, all right, like it could be either, it could be neither. Who knows?
God. Or Jensen's just like negging him because he wants him to. That's how their relationship works.
It's going to be so funny for people to listen to our episode next week, recorded months ago, where none of this comes up.
We're like, they're brothers and they're friends off screen too.
And nothing can ever shake that bond.
Unshakable bond. Just wait till you find out what guest we have.
Oh man. Oh, what a great episode.
I'm gonna make this seem like we've got like the craziest possible. Like I'm gonna overhype this too much.
I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty crazy guest.
Yeah, we got really lucky.
Yeah.
And that's how the episode ends.
Holy shit.
Tell me what you think.
Again, I mean, a lot of fucking shit happens in this episode, from the destruction of Harvell's and Ash being dead.
Yeah.
To the
we also don't know where Ellen is. Like Joe and Ellen.
We don't know where Ellen is. We don't know where Joe is. We have this huge turn for Ava, this character that we kind of got to know a little bit. And then we have this huge heel turn for Ava, who then dies. We also get the death of Andy, a character that we like from an earlier episode.
Yeah.
Like, it's considering that the episodes that came before this largely weren't really part of this season arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the werewolf one, not really part of this. The one after that, the haunted prison, the
Yeah.
djinn, none of those are really this thing, you know?
No.
Like considering all of that and then to leap into this episode, be like, remember all of these people, and you go like, oh yeah, them, and then it's like death, evil,
Yeah.
death.
It's
Like
a bit of a whiplash.
this episode does like what I would normally consider 2 or 3 episodes at the end of the season's worth of work in one episode. Plus, it's doing the dance of introducing new characters, setting up what's happening. This is like technically a fight to the death. We get Azazel back in there. We're bringing Bobby and he's back in sort of on the outside, but he's back in there. We're starting to set up what Azazel's plan has been the whole time. Like the thrust of the series, like why is Sam have these visions, all this kind of stuff. This episode is doing an insane dance, but it's got, like I said, one of the best sets, I think, of any episode of the show.
Oh yeah.
Just an absolutely outrageous location. Incredible guest actors, ones that we've seen before. We know this show always has good guest actors, but this episode in particular, they're playing off each other. It's not just Ava and the boys or Andy and the boys. They're interacting with each other in interesting and meaningful ways. It's really building out the world. It's emotional. There's high stakes. Sam fucking dies. This is an outrageous episode. It has no business being this good. And it's the second last episode of the season.
You're like, what are they going to do in the next episode? How could they possibly up this?
They could end the season here.
Yeah.
This is a season finale. And yet somehow they still amp up the next episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do.
So, I mean, I don't have really I don't even have like the filmmaking criticisms that we sometimes have with these episodes. I think it's paced crazy well. It's juggling all of these insane things. Characters are great. Actors are great. This is a full 5 for me. I'm giving this 5 convenient bags of salt out of 5.
Yeah. I mean, for me, this episode is it's the payoff from amazing writing throughout the rest of the season, right? Like this shows like the planting of seeds that are going to eventually pay off. Like things that they did in the first season and the second season, like setting all this stuff up. I mean, it gives so much weight to what they're doing for this that you couldn't have done otherwise. I think having the heel turn for Ava is only possible because of the way that they had played her before, right? Andy's death is only so meaningful because of the way that they sort of portrayed him in his episodes. The reason why the other girl's death doesn't really kind of mean anything in this, it's just sort of like, oh, they're killing people, Lily, they're killing people, like it doesn't matter. This is sort of like when you really go, oh, like these are important characters and what that work really sort of leads up to. And I think the having, I mean, Aldous, like what a smart casting for them. They really got, I mean, this show gets a lot of really incredible actors and a lot of like BIPOC actors and like gives them a chance before a lot of other shows do, which is in itself impressive.
I mean, this season also gave us like Henriksen and Gordon. There's 3 like massively important, like wildly talented black actors just across those 3 things, let alone
that are given
the rest of the show,
that are given a ton of like weight to them and like character depth and like no stereotypical things at all attached to them. Like they do a really good job with that, with the show that, like, again, early 2000s, like we teeter on the edge of like homophobia sometimes and stuff, but
this is the thing, that it's not like the show is nailing all of inclusivity, right? Like, but there is clearly an effort being made. And do they falter on certain things? Absolutely. Do they fuck it up? Yep. But the longer this show goes on, the more they learn from it and the better they get at it. And it's clearly built into like the ethos of the show. The things they are getting right are fucking great.
Yeah, and you can see it even just with the way that like Eric Kripke has gone on to make shows like The Boys. Like he has taken a lot of that stuff into consideration. You can see the progress and the learning that he has made, and I mean, he does a really good job in a lot of ways. But But yeah, I mean, God, they get constantly lucky with I mean, and Vancouver at this time really wasn't the like Hollywood hub that it is now. Like,
Sure, yeah.
This is sort of the beginning of that. CW and the WB sort of helped create that, I think, or at least a huge part of that. Them and like Hallmark and stuff. But I would say that like just to be able to get this level of actors, like they still had to probably pull them from like LA and stuff, right? So a lot of that's really impressive, and I just love that every character gets like a little bit of a moment and then important death, and they do a lot of like killing your idols in this, like taking out the Roadhouse. It's sort of that moment where it's like nothing is safe, which sort of gives the rest of the series this chance to be able to go, who knows what could happen, which I think is really important. Like, absolutely, even your main characters can die. Like, even like your favorite side people can die. Like, no one is safe, which I think is a thing from a horror trope in general. Totally. But it's something that sort of stays with the series from the beginning, and also just opens things up, right? Because now it's like, okay, we're about to deal with the thing, like we're heading towards dealing with the thing that they set up from the beginning of the series, but that was only 2 seasons ago. So it's like, where do we go from here? Like, how are we already like addressing the Yellow-Eyed Demon at the end of season 2?
Well, and again, because we're still mostly doing Monster of the Week, like let's add up, just roughly how many episodes have we actually spent on this arc? And it's like maybe 9 across 2 seasons. Like it's not that much. It's like half a season's worth of episodes, considering that now it's all serialized storytelling. We're only just now at about 9 episodes worth of the demon and the Sam thing and that shit.
If this was the X-Files, we wouldn't be able to deal with it until season 7. It would have been in a movie that was not even in the show.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it still would have been sort of ambiguous, and maybe like Sam would have gotten pregnant by the demon or something. But for all my X-Files fans out there,
that was good.
I mean, I am 100% with you. This is a 5 out of 5 corpse mullets.
Oh, 5 corpse mullets.
Ashes.
Oh,
God,
man.
what was that watch made out of?
Tungsten. It's got the highest melting point of any.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? That was this. I can't believe we are one more episode and we are done season 2 already.
I know, it's crazy. And I think I've mentioned this to you, maybe off mic, maybe on mic, but season 3 is short because of the writer's strike. We're actually going to get into season 4 by the end of this calendar year.
That's insane.
We are plowing through Supernatural. I'm plowing through Sam and Dean in a way that I've only dreamed of.
Oh, no, there's artwork to show.
No, that's the opposite. That's Steve plowing through.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, we're going to get through 7 years in no time. That's just how old age works.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, amazing episode. Can't wait for everyone listening to hear next week's episode where we bring this season home. We have an awesome special guest. So cool. So much fun. We talk about lots of awesome stuff, and we, bring this story home, baby.
Oh, yeah. The storm's coming in.
Yeah, hell has been loose. And
I've already contacted Kyle Clark to do the first episode of season 3.
Yeah, let's keep the tradition alive. Just make him pick up at the start of each season.
I think that's so funny. I love that.
Because it forces him to watch the then now. That is like everything that led up. So he's like, okay, I think I get it.
Yeah. But also, like, does that work? It's like, we're going to find out, right?
It's a fun little social experiment.
I do like it. So that is it for this week. If you maybe, I would, look, everybody, we're all talking about the news about this Supernatural spinoff.
Oh, man.
Let's hear some hot takes. I want to know what everybody thinks about this, knowing that we want these brothers to stay together. If
oh man, I don't know that I can handle this. What if they aren't friends? What if friendship isn't real?
Yeah, what if Hollywood is just an illusion? If you have a note about this episode, maybe some thoughts about that, a past or future episode that's coming along, things that maybe you want to see us talk about in season 3. We've got we're now like 2 seasons into this into our podcast here. Maybe we brought in guests for season 2. Is there different guests that you want? I mean, keeping in mind that we don't have direct access to actors, we do our best. But I want Sam and Dean on the show, not Jared and Jensen.
Yeah, well, and not at the same time if this thing keeps going.
Yeah, we had to do them separately and then make it seem like they were doing it together.
We have to do it like a divorced Christmas. We have one of them, and then we go and do the same episode with the other one.
Like splice them in. Yeah. But yeah, let us know what you think about the podcast and things that maybe you want for the future of it. Maybe there's some guests that you want to return for season 3 that we had in season 2. I'd love to hear about that because we definitely loved everybody that we had in this season. So you can let us know through our various social media platforms.
We're Ghost Facers Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And of course, you can also just send us an email.
Yeah, ghostfacerspodcast@gmail.com.
We had it at the beginning of this episode, but we want those reviews. They really help us sort of like hit up the ranks, get more fans all finding the show so that we can create this bit of this community around our series, which we love. We're already having great conversations online. So make sure you give us those 5-star review. Tell those podcast networks that we're important enough to rank high.
Yeah, exactly. Not that I don't love being the #1 after show in Poland.
Yeah, we are.
I'd love to chart a little closer to home.
Yeah, because we're the one podcast that mentions Poland in the episode.
I think our SEO in Poland is off the chart.
Yeah, I can't believe they talk about us there.
Oh no,
it's close enough. It's fine. Come on, Jorgen.
Jorgen?
Oh no, that's
Poland.
That's Scandinavian. Shit. Something less racist. Also, if you like our podcast and you want more from us, well, we have a whole other show.
Yeah, check out the Dr. DC podcast. It's about DC Comics. If you like us talking about lore and stuff here, we talk about lore of superheroes over on that show. You don't need to know anything. We answer listener questions. It's about having fun and enjoying what is ludicrous and silly and awesome about comic books.
Yeah, it's where we keep things loose, It's just our little podcast on the side.
Yeah, over here, hell has been loose, but over there, we've been loose.
Yeah. I mean, that's just true.
That's kind of true.
So yeah, subscribe to Dr. DC wherever you get your podcasts. That is it for this week. Say goodbye, bitch.
Jerk.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.